I'll give you an introduction about this platform first of all. So, first of all, what is Hyperledger? Hyperledger is a foundation. It's a Linux foundation. Hyperledger is a group under Linux Foundation, which has several platforms, several projects related to blockchain. So there are. I have a list. What is it? These are the projects.
Oh, it's on the, all of their projects is on the next screens. Yeah, the frameworks and then the projects, yeah.
Alright, so there are 5 frameworks. You can say Hyperledger, Sawtooth, Iroha, Fabric, Burrow, and Indy. All these frameworks have their own specialty. For example, Sawtooth is like a proper modular blockchain framework, so you can connect components, but it's again different in a way that it's kind of a public blockchain thing only. And I don't know about the Iroha much.
Iroha, yeah.
So Fabric, as you know, it's for the enterprise level. The specialty of Fabric is that it allows you to create private networks. This is what makes it different from any other blockchain framework. So with private networks, I mean channels. For example, you can have a Hyperledger Fabric setup at your organization, and you want to collaborate with 5 different organizations. And with all these organizations, you want to perform different kind of business. So you can do that with only one implementation, but different channels, right? And then Burrow is again a public blockchain with a different kind of proof of work. And Indy is mainly for storing user records, user identity records. Right. So just a basic overview. About these. So we are going to focus on the Hyperledger Fabric in this presentation because I made my application on that.
So typically, I think you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but typically, if somebody is building an advanced application with blockchain, they will probably end up using almost all, if not all, almost all the projects that Hyperledger framework has, right?
No, they are actually different implementations of blockchain. So these all projects are created by different people.
I see.
And different
some
organizations.
Smaller, some are bigger, some are like blockchain as a service and things like that. And on the next page, you'll see there are tools. Now the tools are interactive, and so you can use the tools to, combine different things within your specific needs. And this is what kind of sets Hyperledger out from, like Ethereum and some of the others, is that they actually have separated out their things into categories so that you can say, okay, I have a small project, or I'm with a hospital and I need to do, things that are going to be more secure, or I want to build an identification system and things like that. So they have it so that you can kind of go in and go, this is what I need. And then on the next slide, you'll see that there's a lot of tools that they have. And the tools will allow you to do even more depending on what you need. So if you happen to have a project that may cross between any of these, the tools generally will help you connect the dots.
So a beginner need to start with one of these platforms, or how is it?
Yeah. The most popular one, and I think probably the first one, was Fabric, and it just reached a few months ago. It's 1.0, Fabric 1.0. It's the first one. I don't think any of the others have.
It has reached 1.2 recently, like the last 2 weeks.
So why, Hyperledger is one organization. Why do they need to support so many projects?
There are actually different implementations, so that people brought their own ideas, and all of these ideas were accepted by Hyperledger Foundation. Then the foundation works like you have to bring your idea, they accept it, and then you have to build it. So your project must graduate Hyperledger Foundation to be released to the public. So these are the projects that are graduated from the building phase. And
Fabric actually came from IBM.
Yeah.
Fabric was an IBM product. And then some of the others, they were projects of other groups. And they have regular contests where they ask groups of people, say, what's the next best thing? And then people compete and they send in their ideas, and then Hyperledger will accept them. And they, once you've partnered with them, it's essentially like, getting a lot of traffic to a website. You get opened up to a whole new world of people and prospects. So it's very, very.
What is Ethereum also?
Ethereum is by different developer. It's not the part of the Hyperledger. So here you see Sawtooth is by Intel. So Intel has a specific thing in their hardware, in their processors, based on which the consensus mechanism of Sawtooth is based. This is Sawtooth. Indie is, I think, by some European groups. There were European Hungary.
Yeah, that I understand because that's an identity specific. Module, right?
So you create your identity and identity share. So I just know the basics. I'm not into deep.
Okay.
Okay, so
One of the things that I would like to do is that over the course of our time when we have meetings, is that we're able to go into each one of them a lot more in depth,
Yeah.
and that we can work together and come up with even more demos and be able to see the best use cases for each one. And so, yeah. And
So-
these are the tools that can be used also, yeah.
So the point I was about to say is, so the next meetup that we will have will be around going into the details, not necessarily too many details, but like exploring a little bit further into these individual projects, right? Talking about, Sawtooth versus Fabric versus Indie versus, where does it fit, what does it do differently, what are the pros and cons. So that will be the next meetup. So the guy who was going to present that, he was actually going to do it today, and graciously Rahul basically is filling up for him, but with using a different kind of content. But he had something, he had a surgery or whatever, so we had to push that to the next one, next event. So we'll do that during the next event where we will be able to level set on all of these projects.
alright. So basically, I would like to indicate these two tools, Hyperledger Shello and Hyperledger Composer. So when you talk about implementing Hyperledger in your organization, it's like you'll have to go through lots of steps, and those are like very daunting steps or very difficult steps to set up your network. Hyperledger Shello provides you as an interface to set up your network, to connect organization into your network. And then Hyperledger Composer is kind of a software development framework. Every project in the Hyperledger, every blockchain implementation has their own language, has their own mechanism of creating chain code, creating smart contracts. Hyperledger Composer has a kind of a markup language which works commonly with these frameworks. So you can write your chain code in the Hyperledger Composer specific language, and you can deploy it. It will convert it internally. It will convert the chain code internally to the specific kind of platform that you want to deploy to, and then you can do that. So Composer is more like unifying all those platforms together, and Shello will provide you an interface to set up your network. And I'm not sure, I don't know much about other platforms. If Professor Shelby would like to jump in for this.
Well, Caliper and Quilt, I believe, is the latest one. I'm not as familiar with that, but it's primarily used for smaller businesses that take payment. You're talking about maybe a small, even one of us that may have a personal website or something where you accept payments from people through your website. So that's where that acts in. It's almost like a PayPal in a way, but on a much smaller level. Explorer, for that one, it's also networking. I have not had any experience with that one yet. Like Rahul, I've done Cello and Composer more, and those are the most popular tools at the moment. But the more people learn, because like every month, if you follow the newsletter, they have even more tools that come out, and they have more businesses and groups that join them, and so they're just getting really big.
So based on you guys' experience, so this is the first time I'm seeing Explorer and even Quilt, I think. So I think the ecosystem of Hyperledger is growing, right?
Yes.
Based on you guys' experience, what do you think? I mean, are these projects added in like last 3 months, 6 months, or pretty recently? And
Shello is like not yet graduated. It's
I
still in
see.
the development phase. So
Okay.
the UI is very much messed up. But then again, the kind of functionality it provides, you would really need it. Because if you are a company, you don't want to spend time in setting up that server. I'll show you the script that is required to create a basic network. And then you can think if you want to set up a live network with 10 organizations, how much difficult that is. So Shello is kind of interface that makes it easy for you. And Composer, it's like it depends on the need, whether you want it or not, whether you want to experiment with different implementations. If you just want to work with the fabric, then you do not need Composer. The best part of Composer that I think was it provides a REST API. So when you have to develop the applications with just Hyperledger Fabric, you'll have to go through the Hyperledger Fabric SDK, which is right now available in Node.js and Java only. They are working towards Python also. But if you, let's say, want to skip that part, you do not want to write an application using that SDK, you rather want to just make your UI and you consume the REST APIs, then you can go for Composer. Okay, so let me...
Rahul, do you want more B?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
So, quick introduction. What do you do?
I work out at UNCC Charlotte. I teach a class out there, and then I also work in IT as a business and IT analyst. So I do a lot of technical requirements, project management, that kind of thing. Every now and then when there's security issues, we'll...
Okay. What do you do?
I'm an IT project manager for a company called Schaefer. We're a supply chain logistics company,
Okay.
mainly conveying. We have a warehouse management system that we sell and put in, and then we support the application that we sell to the customer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm the founder of a banking software provider. So we
Okay.
are Softstack. So we are based in North Lake Mall here.
Really?
So
It's nice to meet you both.
Yeah.
I worked, I was telling them earlier, I worked at BB&T and TIA Craft before they dropped the Craft. And, so I think the financial and banking industry is where you're going to see the first big push for blockchain. But every now and then there are, identity is a big one. I'm really excited about the prospects of seeing what they can do in terms of government. The small country of Estonia, they actually have a e-citizenship set up. And what you do is you go through the same channels, but a lot less intensive, as if you wanted to be a citizen of the country. You can sit anywhere in the world, and you have like a digital card that says you're an e-citizen of Estonia, and then that gives you the ability to start a business there and to be able to do business with the EU, even if you're sitting in North Carolina. So they did really well with that. They're making tons of money off of it, and it's essentially funding their government and the people. So pretty much everybody in this small country is involved in helping to grow this, digital country, and they all have a part in it in some way. So it's benefiting all of them, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah, it's really
Good.
neat.
That
Yeah.
is new.
Yeah.
And could you tell us what you have done?
I'm sorry.
What do you do?
I'm the CEO and president of a company called Overtech. We actually help companies that have a supply chain. We help them to eliminate counterfeit products in their supply chain.
Okay.
And we use blockchain technology.
Okay.
So
And
do
we
you
do
have-
import export state finance.
Okay,
So
cool.
we'll be in cash.
Cool with that. Do you have a business card?
Yeah.
Supply chain is really interesting. I was telling her earlier, I was out in a conference for the Produce Association, and one of the biggest questions that they have is how can they implement, thank you, how can they implement blockchain to help them be able to determine produce that is having problems, because at that time they were having issues with romaine lettuce, and so instead of being able to quickly and easily detect which farm the contaminated lettuce came from, they had to take weeks and weeks, and at least one person died before they were able to pull all of it off the shelf and then just say to the public, don't eat romaine lettuce, which cost a lot of money. I mean, they lost a lot of money, and then a lot of good crop went to waste. So with the blockchain, they would be able to go in and test the romaine lettuce. They would know exactly what farm it came from. They would know down to the row that the particular head of lettuce came from, and they would be able to do it at the snap of a finger. They could stop the outbreak, they could pull out all the contaminated product, and then all of the other lettuce would still be okay.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge is the technology is awesome, right? The only thing is adoption, It's going to just take, just going to take time to get adopted. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see
So
the.
if you guys see the introduction video of the Hyperledger fabric, it was created in collaboration with Walmart. So they do, in that video, it does properly describe how Hyperledger fabric could be implemented for an SCM. So that was an awesome video. So. Alright, so I'll move on to the project that we have created. We have presented this idea and the project in the Generation Blockchain Challenge, which was started, which was a hackathon that was started in May, and the final round of that hackathon was in April 20th of April.
Sorry, so it started May last year, and
No, it was started. I'm sorry. It was started in March and finished. It was a 1 month long challenge.
I see. Okay.
We first of all had to present our idea and then build up on that idea and finally present the application on the last event day.
So you had 1 month to put this together. Bottom line.
Well, technically it was like less than 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Because
Okay.
the system did not
I get
work.
it. I get it.
It really
You're
was.
smart. You're smart. Okay.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Actually, we were supposed to make it on the Oracle Cloud Blockchain platform. They had an implementation of Hyperledger Fabric on the cloud platform, and we had lots of issues with that.
Oracle Cloud.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So where did you end up doing this then?
I'm sorry. Right.
Hi,
Hey.
how are you?
Perfect timing. We're just starting the demo. So where did you end up doing it then?
We did it on that only, and the
I
problems with that platform was resolved 2 weeks before the final day, and then we had to rush.
Okay.
So most of the entries in that platform, it's like we were in a call with the Oracle support team like
Oh wow.
twice every week, coming up with new issues.
So by the way, you guys ended up winning. I think the second place or third
No, we
place.
did not win it.
Okay, all right.
Oh.
I thought
We
you
were just
guys.
a finalist.
Okay, you were the finalist. You were the finalist. Okay, that still is a big achievement though.
Very good.
Yeah, good job.
Alright, so the project, the idea that we had was the implementation of KYC onboarding on blockchain. So it's basically like, I'll give you a basic overview. This network would have lots of financial and non-financial institutions, so we can have banks, money lending organizations, maybe embassies or any other companies who deals with KYC on the day-to-day basis on this network. And customer end would be one of the organization, like there could be some organization who say that I'll provide the information to the customer, I'll provide the platform to the customer from where they will register to the network, and then either you guys or some other third party could verify that information, and then once that information is verified, you all can use it. Okay, so this is the general idea of this platform, and on top of that, we also thought about some techniques to implement anti-money laundering. Right, so I'll start with the business idea first of all, like what is the need of KYC first of all. So there was a survey by Thomas Reuters in which indicated that the amount of money that the corporates invest in performing KYC. Right, so if you see this graph, there are almost 3% of the companies. These are the participants. So 1,023 participants were there in this survey, and 3% of the companies spend less than 500,000. But you can see that almost 32% of companies did not know, but there is some significant figures. Like if you are a multi-billion-dollar business and you just have to spend like 500 million a year to onboard the customer, it's a big amount.
Yeah, so 4% right there spends over $1 billion, right? I mean, that figure, right? I mean, if you can go like 1% of the 4%, that's a big market,
so
right?
This is just the money that is invested. There's also manpower work. You have to verify the information manually. What if the information is verified once and could be reused by every other organization on the network? So that was the idea. So the investment could be reduced by a significant amount if we trust other companies. Like if I am a customer with Bank of America and I already did KYC with Bank of America, then Bank of America thinks that my information is legitimate. And the next day I go to Wells Fargo. So instead of going through all the document submission, all the manual work, verification work, Wells Fargo could communicate with Bank of America that I have this information provided by this individual, and do you verify it? If Bank of America says yes, I do, then obviously there could be an incentive in that communication. Like if Wells Fargo is spending $100 to do my KYC, then that bank can give $10 to Bank of America. Okay, you confirm the information, I'll give you $10. So this kind of incentive model we can implement in this blockchain network, and this is how most of the blockchain networks are working. If you are providing services, if you are sharing the services, obviously there should be some incentive model, right? So, and apart from the amount of money that has been invested in KYC, what is the main need of KYC? Well, World Bank estimates there are $3.5 trillion US goes into money laundering, and only 1% of that is detected. So the money laundering issues are prominent in the world, and so that has to be detected. And for that, AML is required, KYC is required, all those verification things are required. So KYC is an important thing in the finance business. The platform, I've already told you what could be the benefit of this platform. So this defines that only, that we can have this network which would be a distributed load storage. You already know what's the benefit of blockchain. It's secure. The information cannot be tampered, right? And you don't have to. And you can implement everything on the smart contracts, lower cost, increased transparency, greater security. So these are the general benefits that you hear on everyday basis of blockchain implementations. Now, what our solution provides? Our solution supports these are the features that we provide. We would mainly, apart from the basic services of onboarding customers, we want our system to be flexible, accommodating all the changing regulations. In the US, there are lots of, every day the regulation changes. Like some government regulatory organization comes in and says that you need to have this information also from the customer to open a bank account. Right? So we want to be flexible to accommodate those. We want our data to be secure. We want to encrypt the data that we have. Like we'll store the documents for sure. Documents of the customers. We want to provide a secure access to those documents. We want a feature to We want a feature such that the document once provided to a system and when it to an organization and when its purpose is done, this document comes back, means the organization does not have its access anymore. Right? And we don't want this solution to be limited to financial organizations. We want other corporates, embassies, and other regulatory organizations who deals with customers to be a part of this network.
That will be pretty much every company, right?
Every company, yeah.
Deals with customer. So when you say know your customer, that kind of is a part of customer 360 degree, right? So your customers are buying product 1 to 10. How can you sell them product 11 to 15, right? So cross-selling, upselling opportunities. But in your opinion, Rahul, do you see GenesisKYC as a separate blockchain network that the companies will subscribe to, or how does this? So in other words, let's say hypothetically, this is like in production. This is like there, right, for companies to use. And if Wells Fargo wants to use it, do they subscribe to this network and they start exchanging information, or how do you foresee that working?
So this is where we differ actually. You see, there are many startups who are on the blockchain-based KYC. What they do is they store the information and they ask companies to come and pay them and get the information. We want real use of blockchain. You'll have the network with you, you'll set up your own network. We'll just provide you the information of the customer, or we'll just assist you to set up your network. We'll provide you the protocols. The developments that we had, you can set up the network at your end and then start communicating. So that is the real, that is really how the blockchain-based network should work. It's peer-to-peer communication. If we are just a subscribing service provider, we are providing maybe software as a service, platform as a service, then it's there's no difference between a centralized service provider and blockchain.
You can't really tell what they're doing with that information, whether you actually have access to everything or nothing, or so it's. At that point, you might as well just stick with a database.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm a centralized service provider, I just create a big database. I'll maybe have IBM DB2, Oracle, or some big data system on a cloud server and make a user interface. But that's not what we want. We want the companies, organizations to participate in the network. We'll launch the network, we'll start up the network, and we want the companies to participate. There will be the incentive models. The incentives will be shared between the companies, not only with us. The incentives will be shared with the customers. Right? So it's not just a business a company is running and people are subscribing to.
One of the important things that he said is that, you already have a lot of these early blockchain businesses that are coming in and saying, hey, I want you to subscribe, and then, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. They want to maintain control of it for the fact that they want to get rich quick off of it. But, if you look at the way blockchain was meant to be used and how most people would want to use it, it is really peer-to-peer. And by having a team of people go in and actually customize and build it and tailor it to the needs of your business and your network, and then being able to help train your people how to use it, then it really does become, self-sustaining. And then that way you cut out the middleman. They don't make any money, unfortunately, but that's the way that it's meant to work.
We will for sure make money, but it's not.
Well, yeah, you're good. No, I didn't want to. No, you will make lots of money. It's the whole trust thing, and that's the foundation of blockchain is trust. So that's what makes it amazing.
Cool.
Okay, so the application that I have is just a POC. I have everyone on the same channel as of now. It's a diagram that shows that in each of these is an organization. So we have Bank X, Bank Y, this is a financial regulatory authority, and maybe embassy. All these are in the same channel, KYC access. So the assets that are contained by this channel are shared among those. But if we want to, let's say, go live, we can have some complicated infrastructure in which we can have different channels and different set of attributes of the asset to be available to a specific organization. Right, so okay. I'll go to the.
So when you say channel,
Mhm.
channel is basically a different organization.
No, okay. So as I told you, this is the beauty of Hyperledger Fabric. All other blockchain networks are peer-to-peer communication. If we talk about Ethereum, it's you just have to download the Ethereum wallet and you can connect to the network. Right. If you talk about the Hyperledger Fabric specifically, I'm not talking about the other projects. Those are again, those other projects do not have channel. Only this particular project has channel. So let's say Wells Fargo establishes a Hyperledger Fabric network. It can have different peers. Now peers in a network, in a Hyperledger Fabric instance, could be your internal offices, internal organization. You can you can have different departments. Maybe marketing department has one peer, or sales department has one peer. So your instance of Hyperledger Fabric is specific to the organization. There are different peers in the organization. Now this Wells Fargo is doing business with 5 different companies, and with all those companies, it's doing different kind of business. Alright, so instead of creating 5 different servers, Wells Fargo will have only one server, but 5 different channels. Okay, on every channel, it will have a different company. So the assets that are contained by that channel is available to the companies that are connected to that channel only. So
yeah, I'm able to understand because like you guided me on that project. So it's like if 2 companies like A and B wants to have that separate channel where they will have some transparency on it, also those things will be only for them only, and if they are
I think I should use the board maybe.
Yeah, come over.
To explain it better.
Yep.
So when you say Wells Fargo giving a channel to one of its customers, can the customer use that channel to somebody else?
Yeah, the channels are shared between the network. So somebody
Can the channel, can the customer create sub-channels to other channel,
No.
his customers?
Just a customer, like this is company A. It has a Hyperledger Fabric instance, okay, and has some peers. So there are peers are nothing but in a network you can have different systems. So the load is shared, and every department of this particular company performs the task with these peers.
Okay.
Right. So assets are there. Assets are in the peers, and whatever transaction they will perform will happen to the assets. These assets are global, first of all. Global for a channel. So they globally maintain a state. An asset could be anything. In the Bitcoin network, your asset is your wallet. But if you talk about SCM, supply chain management, your material could be your asset. You want its life cycle to be tracked. You want the material to go from one hand to another. So there is a change of ownership of the asset. So change of ownership of the asset is a kind of a transaction. If you are not performing transaction with the money, with the wallet, you are performing transaction with the asset, and by performing transaction, you are changing the state of the asset. The asset is maintained globally inside the channel. So if this company has a channel, company A has a channel with company B, then there are some assets in this channel which are available only to this channel. Right? And if it creates a channel with company C, there are assets with these channels in this channel which are available only to this channel, and these are global. So these assets are available to A, C, or maybe company D, which is also a part of this channel, company E, which is also a part of this channel. And inside the chain code that we write, chain code is the code that we write in Go language, we can specify the authorizations, like specify the authorization that this particular asset could only be modified by company A, but others can only view it. So these kind of coding we can do in the chain code.
So to draw a parallel between cryptocurrency and what you're saying, if I'm A and if I'm transferring money to let's say somebody, right? Only they can see what I transferred.
Right.
That's the asset, right? And that communication is between me and that person. Right? So that's my channel with that person, right?
Yeah. So this channel will have assets. It will have your transaction chain.
Yeah.
It will have your blockchain with the transaction chain. It will have your blockchain. So everything is specific to this channel only. The only benefit of asset is you just have to create one instance of Hyperledger network in your infrastructure, and you can connect this instance with multiple channels.
So you create one instance of the Hyperledger to connect multiple channels? So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Create multiple channels, connect with another channel.
So what's the Hyperledger useful for? Is it for a record?
I'm sorry?
Hyperledger is for record, right?
It can be.
It can be.
Yeah, it's pretty much useful for all sorts of things. They have different projects. Identity is the big one.
Identity?
Yeah,
Okay.
and things like that. So you can do a lot with it.
So when you store these assets, right, so these are between those parties. If you have to do a search, let's say A has some assets with B, shared with B, shared with C, and maybe another, a million more people, right? And if I had to search, is it something like, how they are stored? Is it kind of stored by in database or?
That's stored in database. That's stored in database. So every person who has a Hyperledger instance will have database of this.
Okay.
So in the blockchain, everybody has everything.
Okay. So I can do a search of the assets that I am authorized to view.
So,
Yeah.
Bhushan, if you're thinking of an application, right, as a service provider, if you're thinking of an application, blockchain, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shelby, correct me if I'm wrong, blockchain is not an ideal platform for enabling search, if you will.
Okay.
Right? It has all the information, but you cannot just quickly look up, right? I mean, that functionality is not kind of there. So you have to supplement that with another technology where when a transaction happens, you let blockchain make a record of that, but then also record it in this other technology that you can search when you need it, right? For the transaction history or whatever it is, right?
Okay, so in this example, KYC, right? There are billions of people. Let's say you have a billion of people in your records. And Wells Fargo has done KYC for 100,000 people. Bank of America has done it for another 200,000 people. Now I am BB&T, and one of these customers is coming to me. Hey, can you share this guy? Right now I want to search. I want to know who owns this, KYC records, right?
Okay. So first of all, everybody will own the record. The database is there with everyone. So if you want to look up, let's say customer, if you want to look me up with my email, we don't have to peek in anyone else's database. You have the information available with you in your own database. You just need to access it. The database is a CouchDB, which is a NoSQL database.
Okay.
So Rahul, is
But don't worry on this.
Is CouchDB part of Hyperledger or is it outside? Do you have to do something special?
No, it's when you do the implementation. First of all, the Hyperledger implementation is done using Docker images. So when you download the images, everything there's an image for orderer node, there's an image for peer node, there's an image for database. So everything is downloaded with that. So this is CouchDB you can use, and there's a native implementation of LevelDB, which is by Google. So LevelDB is a very basic database with key and values pair. You cannot run complex queries, while the CouchDB will allow you to run complex queries. So if for POC purposes, I am just using LevelDB. But if you want to create a real-life application, you must use CouchDB for that. And while creating a network, there is an option to specify which type of database you want to use.
Now you would have a dashboard that essentially shows you every transaction that you've done. You would be able to look at your information and say, okay, I sent Rahul 3 Bitcoin for something, and you would have the date, the time, down to the seconds, and all that information. You would even be able to see the blockchain numbers and everything like that. and it would be the same, but you would not necessarily, other than the fact that you know that you did this transaction with Rahul, you wouldn't know that it was Rahul, and you would not be able to see his transaction numbers. You would only be able to access the information that he is going to allow you to see. So other than the transaction record between the two of you, you could have a transaction and never know who each other is, and never worry about names or credit card numbers or social security numbers, and there's no redundancy in terms of like if you have a database and you all the banks have, you know, the same customers, they have all these separate databases. Well, with this, you only have one instance of it, so there's no redundancy, which saves a lot of space and time, space and money. But also, each bank may have, you'll have a different access to it. So the client may say, okay, I only have a checking account at Bank of America, but I have a savings account at Wells Fargo, and then, you know, I have a loan out with BB&T. And only BB&T would be able to access the loan information, and then Wells Fargo, the savings, and then Bank of America, the checking. But the information is still central and local.
But isn't it that since that information is mine, if I am granting you authority to look into my card, it doesn't matter if the BB&T or Bank of America or Wells Fargo, you should be able to, as part of the network, you should be able to see the information. Right? So if that is true, then going back to your very first comment on if Wells Fargo wants to know about me, and if my record is Bank of America, and they have to pay some certain amount and get information, there are two things, right? If Wells Fargo is also part of the network, they don't even need to go and ask.
That could be a wrong use of words. First of all, if I'm registered to the network, everybody will have the information, but somebody has to verify the information. I can put any credit card information, anything. Somebody has to verify the information.
Isn't it part of the public network? The verification process
It is part of public network, and the information is available, and that's how incentive model works. Wells Fargo will say that I want to use this customer's information. I'll pay you $10, and you allow me to use the customer's information. I have the information with me. I cannot use it. There are contracts between the companies.
So down the line, right? I mean, if this app, like if this becomes like a real life scenario, banks will change their terms and conditions, if you will, right? That, hey, we are going to take your information. You are submitting a new application for loan or home equity line of credit, whatever. We are going to take that information and we will share that with other participants of this network to verify your credibility for this loan or whatever. So I think, I don't know if you are addressing the legal part of the information sharing or the technology part, but I think the legal part will have to be handled differently.
Yeah. Right? There's a legal contract would come into picture because everybody has everyone's information, so it should come in. All the collaborating parties must come to a contract that, if I am using this information, then whoever has made an effort to verify this information must get some revenue.
So I don't want to deviate too much, but my wife works for a company called Early Warning Systems. I don't know if you've heard of it. That company is created by top 7 banks in United States, right? And the idea is to share the low-level detailed information around consumers across those 7 banks. And Early Warning Systems have 93% of U.S. consumer financial information, right? So I mean, this would be kind of a small thing.
So chances are, if you don't get along with one of them, you're probably not going to go.
Most likely.
One of the really exciting things is that I think it puts a consumer also, or even the business, in more control of what data they want to share.
Yeah.
Because now, like he was saying, people collect data from everywhere, and I mean, take the Facebook and for example, where they pretty much profiled everybody, and you can go in and see what they have on you, and then when you read it, your mouth open, you're like, oh, like how did they know all this? Well, they watch everything you do. You know, and if they had to have a system where people were like, nope, you can't have my address, no, you can't have my phone number, I'm not going to allow you to see like my family, but you're free to look at my work contacts because I want to be able to use that in the future to get other jobs. You know, there's some protections there that, you know, are really good.
And another benefit is like if all the banks are coming together, let's say I have an account with 3 different banks, and I use one of the accounts to do some illegal tasks, some illegal things, or that particular account gets much more money than any other bank. So those 2 banks are not aware of whatever I'm doing with that account. So if in this network the banks come into a consensus that they'll also contribute the transaction information to this network. The transaction could be anonymous, like the information could be just the amount of money that that particular customer transacted. It should not. We do not need the information about who it's going to, where it's coming from. So we just need the amount of money. We know how much this person earns from the KYC. We know we have the salary steps, and we see like if this person is earning $100,000 a year, but somehow he's getting $1 billion in his account from somewhere. Obviously, this person is doing something wrong. And that particular thing is available. That particular information is available to all the participants in the network. So it's like everybody, if 10 banks are in the network, then they are aware of what the situation of this customer is. If one bank flags this customer, then the nine other organizations should know. So that kind of transparency we can provide with this KYC network.
But sometimes, don't you think that?
Yeah, I think that with banks bringing them to a consensus, it's difficult. But there are challenges in implementation.
So for you guys, I mean, swap tech. If you build a product, right, that does something around those lines, you could expect like a company like Pfizer acquiring that product. So because you guys may not have that reach, but Pfizer has a much bigger reach. Right?
So pitching these ideas, these are really revolutionary ideas, and to pitch in those,
that's good. What you're saying is very important because we deal into payments, right? Money laundering. So as a bank, as a small bank or larger bank, they have visibility only into their transactions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I could be sending money to a bad guy from each one of my account from 10 different banks, right? So, but I'm just sending one payment from each bank and they don't care. But if you monitor globally across all the banks and share that information, hey, this guy is sending the same payment to the same guy.
Yeah, ideally, like the Fed, Fed is supposed to do that, right?
Yeah, Fed is not going to do that. Fed is, they will never do that.
All of
Well,
wires go through the Fed.
Yeah, so we share so much of information to the bank, to the Fed, every single day.
Yeah.
And they just sleep on it, they don't have the technology. But I think it is important to kind of have that shared visibility into kind of the fraud monitoring.
Right. And that's the whole purpose of KYC. And this particular solution could also eradicate the cross-border issues. You say that here we have IRS or some regulation authority which are monitoring your financial statements, but you might have an account with the Swiss bank and do something. Let's say if we have the Swiss bank on our network, then we can maybe expose
now they regulate that, but why should it be regulated? I mean, if you want to have money in Bank America and in Swiss Bank and in Deutsche Bank, why shouldn't you be able to? I mean,
Let's see why not.
it's your money,
Yeah.
But of course, they would disagree with me.
So there is no central regulatory authority. Everybody has the information, everybody is collaborating with each other. The verification, all the communication is done between those companies only. And that's how a blockchain network should be. There's no one to control you. You must be the owner of everything. Right, so I'll get back to my solution.
I sense a professor in the making.
Did you want to come up with
Okay, he's gonna learn.
Yeah, and the branch shall be useful.
I was learning about the software. Yeah, we have to walk in there. And I'm
So the software.
yeah, we are okay.
Payments, right?
What else?
Well, you mentioned Pfizer, so that's why I was curious.
Yeah.
But then it might be next.
What is your profile?
Can you guys look at those 598?
I do.
It's not running on document.
So,
But why?
I
I
was
mean, it's
curious
default by
if,
default
any
should
of you were
598.
into that.
It's not running on
Where
constant, it's running on level D.
where are you at
which
school
is-
at? Where are you at
So the
school?
ST API and all you changed it.
Those are
Where are you
composer
at
things, I'm not
school?
using composer.
But it automatically shifts, right?
I'm not using composer at all.
But for my time, it was coming by default.
That's the beauty of composer. Composer I want to learn. We
Please.
did not use composer, it's just
I'll talk to you
Hyperledger.
later.
Alright, so
I was asking where you go to school.
Oh, I went to UNC Charlotte for
Nice to meet you. I'll
bioinformatics,
see you
but
guys.
Okay,
Have a
yeah.
child issue.
He's out there, I teach
I'm
that
not
question.
done yet.
So you graduated?
No, I'm not done yet. I have to finish.
It's, yeah, the program was, yeah.
So, what do you do?
I'm a teacher at UNCC, and then I work out there in the IT
What do
department.
you teach?
Teaching for Belk, I teach management information systems.
MIS, okay.
Yeah, supply chain management, that kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah, I have to
So,
finish.
do you have login built into that? I mean, you had to
yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
go into the
I'm
basic
very
login, that's the boring
interested
stuff.
So you guys did all this in
in
2 weeks?
You're right.
the bioinformatics aspect of it, especially genomic and things like
No,
that.
there was one
It's
more
very
project
interesting
she
in
helped
terms of
with
blockchain.
we did it 2 days.
Oh,
So,
man.
she's the one who brought me to blockchain at the first place.
Yeah, actually,
Really?
my manager wanted me to show him because I work for the retail industry, so I work for hours in this. I mean, now I'm just recently graduated, I will be joining them as a software.
Okay.
So hours in is a retail company.
It's on 85 north, right? 85 north, 70, 85
No, that's not here actually. It's
They have an office up on the north side though.
there's no office here.
The challenge is that there's no biotech.
I've been to the office. Hey, go ahead, go ahead.
No, we have headquarters in
Certainly
Central
for
Yes.
that one.
because we are
Yeah.
a parent company, Foodland, Hannaford, Stop and Shop, all the ARMs. So my manager wanted because Walmart is a competitor.
We'll catch up
Walmart
later
is
on.
already
Yes.
using.
Yeah.
See, I was
He's
doing
right behind
internship.
you. Sorry.
So they asked me to bring up this blockchain thing. He said, show me a demo. So that's why I asked him, like, let's do this. And he helped me and we built a small demo on
Nice.
tracking
It was,
picture.
What
It was
are
pretty
the
cool.
challenges as well?
Yeah, I graduated from UNCC recently.
Right, so
Cool.
actually I did not want to go into the registration and boring stuff. I
Yeah, that's
want you
fine.
guys to be excited to
Yeah.
see something running on
Yeah,
the blockchain
yeah, yeah.
network.
So it's running on Docker though.
Yeah,
Yeah, he runs a Docker.
it's a chain code, this is the logs,
But his configuration is quite good.
configuration is not in. So you can see there are several Docker images. I have an image for peer. This is peer 0 of bank Y, bank X, customer, embassy. This is the orderer node, if you guys know about the orderer node in the blockchain. It's the one which is responsible for the consensus for ordering the transaction. In the entire blockchain, the entire challenge in blockchain is about ordering the transaction to avoid the duplicate spending threat. So orderer node in this case is responsible for ordering those transactions. And the consensus that I have configured in this network is a very basic one. If any of the organization agree to the transaction, then the transaction happens. We can have a more sophisticated or complicated consensus mechanism. You can specify, let's say, if that modification, if we want all the banks to accept this particular transaction. So that could also happen. That's just the configuration part in this network. Right now the consensus is very basic. If any of the 5 organizations that are in this network agree to the transaction, then it happens. Right. Okay, so I'll log in. I did prepare my user so that I do not end up writing everything in front of you. I just want you to see how this application will work. It's a very basic POC. You just put the information, save it. The administrator sees that there's something to approve, right? And once the information is approved, it could be accessed and viewed by the bank. Right, so this particular UI is for the customer. Customer comes in, logs in, fills up the information, provides address, contact information, environment information. So obviously for KYC we have big forms, there will be lots of things to do, and there's also a facility to upload documents. So here I have uploaded a very basic PDF document. Right, so once I fill in everything, save it, my status goes into updated, and when the administrator, this is the UI for the administrator, when the administrator logs in, he sees that there are customers that needs to be verified. He'll click the customer, he'll have all the information that he needs, he'll have the documents that that the user has updated. This could be any mechanism, like someone from the administrator group could meet the customer personally to verify the information. So this is just simple verification interface. You go in, you see the information.
So Rahul, what part of this are you keeping, are you storing in blockchain versus, for example, document, right? I mean, I don't think you are storing.
Document is not.
So what part of this information are you storing in blockchain versus
the entire customer information? This information here has the name, date of birth, everything coming from the blockchain.
And maybe a link to the document itself, right?
And I made a link. If you decide to store the documents as also in part of the blockchain, then you can do that, right?
It's a database, you can do it, but ideally you should not, because blockchain's database is going to grow. It's going to store lots of transactions over the period of time, and on top of that, if it has KBs or MBs of documents, that's not a good thing. Besides, there are other better facilities. There are static document delivery, the CDN.
But how are you going to, the basic concept of blockchain is that the information that you're sharing is protected, right? So it's protected with the security keys and whatever that you're going to share. So I'm going to, let's say I'm going to upload some of my maybe passport image or driving license. I don't think we need to do that. But let's say, only my bank account information is in blockchain, and driving license and passport, they are not in blockchain for whatever reason, right? They are not still up to date. So when it's a bank account information, then what I can do is I can add my bank account, and Bank of America can say, hey, this is my Bank of America account. They can confirm, hey, yes, it is your account with me, and I can add a Wells Fargo account, and Wells Fargo will say, yes, it's my account with me. Right? So that can be confirmed. Yeah. But for some reason, my driving license is not confirmed by the DMV. So in that case, I just upload my driving license, right? So are you saying that I cannot protect that driving license image? It's not protected between me and the parties that is shared.
With the protection you mean, let's say if I implement anything, any kind of sophisticated algorithm encryption, and let's say somehow I prevent someone to download it, I cannot prevent anyone to take a screenshot of it. So that kind of thing is not at all possible.
Yeah, not the screenshot. I totally understand about the screenshot, but that file, let's say me and wherein we have the consensus to share the driving license document, right? And you don't have the permission to view that. But if you know that link or location where it is stored, right? You should be able to access it because it's not protected in blockchain.
So in other words, right? One of the key benefits of blockchain is that it does the reconciliation of the data. right?
Permission.
So permission, yeah, management of the permissions, and what you have shared with a particular party is going to be between you and that particular party. Now, even if we don't have the document in the blockchain, even if it is stored somewhere else, is there a way where when you share the whole record with another party, we can still protect the document so that it's not shared or accessed by anybody else outside
So, but in that
permission?
case, that won't be distributed.
No, it can be done.
I mean, it can be distributed, right? I mean, so for example, right? Forget about blockchain for the moment. Can I share a document with just one person? I can, right? I mean, nothing stops me from doing that. I can assign permission on a particular asset to a different individual, and only they can access it, right? Nobody else will access
Like
it.
a crypto
But
key.
the point is, yeah, how do we make use of the blockchain to enable that so that when you're sharing the whole profile, maybe a key for the document or the hash for the document or the path for the document is shared such that nobody else accesses it.
Okay. So there's a public-private key encryption, right? It's also used in the blockchain a lot to create signatures of the transaction, even in the Bitcoin. So that kind of mechanism we can use with the documents, such that this encryption works in a way like you encrypt the document with your private key, the key that only you possess, and then there is a public key that is possessed by the people from with whom you want to share this information. So you encrypt the information with your key, and this particular information could only be decrypted by the key that is with the parties. Right? So this kind of encryption we can have with the document, and that's what we also thought of. Right? And if you talk about the access, Google Drive has the access mechanism, so there are lots of ways to protect the document. So it's access to documents. But let's say if you say that you have given the access to someone and you want that access to remain for 1 or 2 days, I can remove the link, I can remove the access. But if somebody has copied the document in their local drive, in their local storage, so there's no way to get rid of that copy.
Snapchat.
Yeah, I know.
If you
So,
put, you know-
Bhushan, does that answer what you were asking?
Yeah,
or-
I think what I feel is that as you said, the couch TV is protected by permission access, right?
Yeah.
So the document could either be part of as a binary storage within that couch TV, or if you decide to store it in a separate database, then the location of that file can be permissioned, right?
Yeah.
And the location, the accessibility of that is kind of restricted between this application. Nobody else can access that.
Right. Or maybe we can
or something like that, right?
encrypt
I
the
think
file.
that you can just work around.
Encrypt the
that
file
one.
with a key, and only the users who are supposed to view this document could have the key to unlock the document. So if you encrypt it, it's obfuscated and you cannot see what originally is there in the document.
Yeah.
Right, so here I am on the administrator interface. I could see all the information, I could see the documents, and I'll approve it, put some comments if required, save it, status is updated. You could see the approved status and admin comments here.
Now, where are you storing the comments? In the couch TV itself?
Yeah,
in couch TV. Is that a table outside the blockchain framework, or did you have to create your own table?
No, we don't have to create table. You just have to create assets. The table is created. It means it's not a relational database where you have to run some
Correct.
migration to create the table.
Correct. Key value pair.
Key value pair, you don't need a schema. You have your structure, just store the structure. That's it.
So to me, if you didn't tell me this blockchain, to me it could be the same database.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Why, where is this difference between the database and the blockchain? Where is the distinction? It
No.
comes into picture.
If you talk about blockchain is just a database that stays synced with the parties which are in this network. So
Would you say it's a replicated database?
it's a database that automatically replicates Otherwise, you'll have to have some orchestration in between. This orchestration might fail, or maybe the end party's server might go down. Something happens, data is lost, and you are doomed. You do not have the information.
The reconciliation between the parties happens automatically.
Right.
And what he showed is only the first half of the equation. A customer logging in, creating their profile, and somebody approving it. I think the true value of the blockchain is when that approved profile is shared with another bank. Yeah, exactly. Another institution.
And I mean, you could almost say that you could create an instance that would approve it for you, where nobody would have to see an image.
That's the artificial intelligence part.
Exactly, or
Yeah.
artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
But one of the things when you were asking about the difference between a database and a blockchain, one big difference is that your database is hacked a lot by SQL injection. That would never happen on a blockchain. And then there's also the space requirements. I mean, you're not going to have nearly, the information is not going to be duplicated. Now, when you set up, you hope that there's no duplication, but we're people and we make errors and we duplicate stuff. So, but the SQL injection is probably one of the biggest security pluses for the blockchain.
So, would you agree if I say that, your database is replicated across different parties, and I get to access only what I am permission for. Even though I have all the data, I cannot access anything that is not permission for.
Yeah, you can. That could be defined in the chain.
That's it. That's the main difference.
But
that could be defined in the chain.
can I ask you a question? When you say database is replicated, as part of the network from Bank of America, and you are responsible, let us say, do I need to use the same technology like a coach GB or something like that? Or when you say replicated, because you are saying that the replication of